We're back again. We're back again. Excuse us for the technical difficulty. So let me switch the song again. Let's. Yes, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. So where were we? Again, for the people that didn't hear us at home, is the hour of restoration. We'll start a fresh show. Talk about the topic of last week, rapture, being left behind. The theme was rapture, and the topic was being left behind. And today's show will be about the seven churches. That is a new theme, and the topic is what is the topic? Do you guys know what the topic is?
The seven churches and Ephesus and Smyrna.
Yes, exactly. I was testing you. I knew
Yeah,
it. So the topic of this week is Ephesus and Smyrna. That's one of the seven churches what we will be discussing. But first, we're gonna have a table talk about last week's show, being left behind. So let's jump into it. Brittany, when you hear being left behind, what comes into mind?
What comes into mind is this idea that when everything is going to escalate on this world, you have those that go up with the Messiah,
Yeah.
and you have those that will stay behind, and those who are who are left behind are actually the ones who are doomed, have to fight for their lives, have to survive. And actually, what I said last week, a bit that survival of the fittest type of idea. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you say that.
Okay, okay. And Helena, what um when we talk about rapture, what do you think of this topic and this theme? Why do you think this is a relevant subject that we should look into?
I think it's important to discuss because rapture is something that if we preach, like, yeah, it's something that's going to happen, but it's never written in the Bible. The word rapture isn't even, can you even see it in the Bible, not mentioned um, by any of the prophets or by the Messiah itself. So then you need to question yourself, like, where does this doctrine even come from?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it's important to, yeah, kind of.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, why it's important. Yeah, that's exactly why we should look, because we hear so many things in this world about the rapture, and many things that are not even written. But then again, when you read the word, then you see a whole different scenario that will play out, and then yeah, then you stand there asking yourself, okay, what is true? Who will I believe? So when we talk about that, what was something that really stuck to you from last week's message, Brittany?
What stuck to me was, that idea that actually those who are, left behind are the ones that are, I wouldn't say, I don't want to use the word fortunate, but those are actually the ones that are blessed. And then I think of the scriptures that speaks about two are then in the field and one is grinding and one is taken away, because that is a verse that I never understood. I also thought, like, where's the other person then going to? What does what does it have to do with? But it also you can also compare it, for example, with the days of Noah, and what you then see, those who actually who stayed in the ark, were the ones that continued to live on, continue to spread, and those who were taken away were then the ones that actually died and went to hell. So it actually shows how that which we know of the left behind doctrine is upside down.
Yeah, yeah. So they actually twist it around, if you will say, and then the minister also mentioned that when they talk about this topic in church, they always quote one verse, and then they immediately say, yeah, close your Bible, and then they go and give their own interpretation. What is the danger of giving your own interpretation, you think?
Well, it's your own perception and ideas that you give unto it. If it's your own interpretation, you will not apply the verses in the correct context.
Yeah.
And then when you explain it to others, um, a verse in itself can mean so many things, but you have to read it in context to really understand. If you don't allow people to do that, everyone can add whatever they want to, or can believe whatever they want to from that verse.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then you'll start to believe in what you would like to believe,
Mm-hmm.
because people tend to get, we always want to seek comfort, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go to certain things, and then your own mind will tell you, yeah, this is it, this is it. Well,
Yeah.
the reality will be something else. So my next question then is, why are people so ignorant or unaware about the suffering that will happen to us in the end times? Because the minister mentioned that there is suffering coming, tribulation. We also talk about post, mid, and after tribulation. I don't know what those terms are,
Mm-hmm.
but why are people so ignorant and unaware about these things? You think, you think?
Is this a question to me or?
To Helena,
Oh,
because I'm looking
yeah,
to you,
you're
but
looking at me,
but it
but
seems like it's only Helena.
I'm here.
It's your
yeah.
turn. Your turn now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why people are sorry, the question was why people don't
Or
able
so
to.
unaware and or maybe ignorant about the suffering that will that is
Oh yeah, no,
before us.
yeah. If you think about suffering, nobody wants to suffer. But the funny thing is, yeah, we are, yeah. It's like we living here. It's like we are all living like scot free. We're also suffering a bit, but
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe not on a I'd say on a high level or something. But yeah, I think everybody would just wants comfort, want peace, want to hear good things, good tidings, and
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I think that's why that people tend to be the reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And then let's see, because yeah, when you, as I said, people like to get into a comfort zone and they don't want to suffer, and that's why they, yeah, it's something that they are ignorant about. I don't know how to deal with that exactly. But how do you deal for yourself with the suffering that is ahead of us? How do you prepare towards that?
Yeah, that's a good question. But I think it starts with um, me believing what is written, and also like study also that subject for myself, and take my time to, how do you say, digest it, dus laten bezinken, and yeah, slowly also preparing your mind to leave that comfort life a bit behind you, like
Mm-hmm.
also preparing yourself like, hey, this is not going to be like this forever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Hey, Brittany, are you ready to suffer for your faith?
Am I ready to suffer for my faith? That is a very deep question. I don't think I have arrived there mentally.
Well,
I don't think I've arrived there mentally because it's easy to say, yes, I am ready. I'll do whatever. I'll die for my faith. But
mm-hmm.
I have read the stories of the many apostles, the
Mm-hmm.
many prophets, and the way that they died. I have read about how people who were very zealous in their faith, how they came to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And when you read those stories, it's a lot to take in.
Mm-hmm.
And I also question myself, like, are you ready to this point that, come what may, if you need to die for your faith, are you already there? And I'm not there yet mentally, but I am trying to prepare myself to get to that point.
And how come you came to that realization that you're not ready to die for your?
When you read the ways that that they died,
Yeah.
um, let's say the one story that I really find inspiring is, for example, the woman with the seven sons, and that
Mm-hmm.
is something in the Apocrypha.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when you read how the mother herself sees how all her sons are killed, and before they're killed, they're tortured,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually how she also dies. That it really commands my respect. But I was like, I don't know what I would do in that position. Probably if I would be in that position right now, I would not necessarily think maybe about my fate, but more be in my emotions, or plead for mercy, or whatnot. The
Mm.
way that it's really, there's a very deep description of how they're being tortured, for example, and that
Yeah.
is quite intense to read.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And when I, yeah, it's really hard because when I hear those stories or such examples, and I often think about the stories when people say that if I'm on a ship and the ship is sinking, then I will preach to the people that are on the ship.
Mhm.
But when fear strikes you, you become a whole nother person.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's really hard to, yeah, to imagine what you will do at such a moment. You only hope that the faith that you believe in has been planted within you,
Mhm.
and that only the only thing that you can know at that moment is to, yeah, hold on to your faith, and then if you have to die, you have to die. So
Mhm.
that's something we ought to put in our minds.
Mhm.
And Helena, how are you preparing? How are you preparing for the period that is coming
Now,
concerning suffering?
now, to be honest, I'm not like preparing yet.
Oh.
If I really to be honest, because like it seems something that it's far away,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like now you're mentioning it's like something that yeah also need to take in consideration to also like really think about like what I was saying, like life is not going to be like this forever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good to think about those things. But to be honest, I'm not prepared yet.
Why not?
I just
Oh,
explained.
excuse me,
Wow.
excuse
Why
me.
not by force, huh?
I just explained, brother.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed a little
Oh,
part of
okay.
that. So, but concerning preparing, let's see with the next question. Do you think it's too late to prepare for the end? Because oftentimes when I sit in my room, I consider certain things like, there's a period in life where you ought to prepare for certain things, and do you guys believe also that there's a time for everything,
Mhm.
and then it can be also too late, right?
What
Or
do you
not?
mean?
What
Or
do you mean with
Yeah,
too
what do you
late?
mean? Too late.
like for example, um, let me see which example I can give. For example, women and children, right? There comes an age where it's too late to have children, right?
They say that, but
They
it's
say
never
that,
too
but
late.
Elohim can do
Actually.
Okay,
everything.
then I
Yeah.
used a wrong example.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me,
Randy, just
let me use, let me use another example
wait, Randy.
because I'm stuck now.
Randy, it's
No
never
problem.
too late.
Okay, continue with
Yeah,
the
but it's
example.
never
So
too
a
late.
mother and the
Yeah.
children.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is it okay? Is it? Can you always go to school and get a certain degree?
Yes.
Also, when you're old.
Yes.
that happens.
I have seen old
on
people
youth.
at
Yeah,
school.
at school.
You
Even in
guys are
Ghana, it
ruining my.
happens. No, but I
Okay,
think
but get to
Yeah,
the point that you're
yeah.
trying to explain, and then maybe we can move along.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What was my question again? Yeah. Like for example, what I meant to say is when I am at home, I sometimes think like it's maybe too late for me to accomplish certain goals that I have in the time span that I have. And that, I mean, like for example, when the world is going to be destroyed in a
Mhm.
certain way,
Yeah.
and then I think like maybe I won't be able to prepare myself to be in the place that I need to be
Mm-hmm.
before the whole thing is being destroyed. Do you
Mhm.
think you have enough time to get to that place?
Well, as long as you're alive, you do your best to get to that point. It's not
Mhm.
gonna happen in one day, but I would say, as long as there is breath in you, try to do your best to focus. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll be like, okay, I don't have time, and then you will delay yourself, and
Yeah.
you'll just sit there and, oh, it's not gonna happen, or I don't know what to do. I don't know how to prepare, and that is literally wasting time. So, just take every day as it comes, and also number your own days and try to work towards getting yourself prepared.
Okay, thank you,
Agree.
that's clear. And then I think we're going to round up a little bit because we have a big show for you guys at home, the 7 churches. So we need a little bit very much time, so we'll not keep it too long, the table talk. I have a final roundup question for both of you. What advice would you give someone to be aware when it comes to being left behind? What is the name one advice that you would give someone, Elena?
The question was give one advice.
Yeah, what advice would you
Or what
give
advice?
someone concerning the topic being left behind? This the whole
Oh, the whole
idea of being
rapture.
left behind.
Oh, okay, being left behind. What I would say is that yeah, home study. Um, Search up the word rapture and what it means,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, study about it.
Study about
The
rapture.
yeah.
And Brittany, do you have something also, maybe in a lifestyle way, that you would advise someone concerning being left behind? How someone
Um,
should change their life, maybe?
I think the part of don't be at ease,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that there's time or it will come. We'll see when it comes. Just live your life as if every day it could happen any moment.
Mm-hmm.
So prepare yourself in that sense.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you guys. So, people at home, if you couldn't make sense what we were talking about, you can watch the show back on our platforms, YouTube, also on Facebook, SoundCloud. We have many topics about these subjects, rapture, and many more things that may answer the questions that you may have. So watch them on our platform, The Hour of Restoration. Search it up, and then you can rewatch the show. So thank you, my panel members. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your part, and
Thank you.
we'll continue to the next segment. So I'll play a little song, and we'll be back in a few minutes. See you in a bit. Papa, Papa, Kisi asoni mama, Papa, Papa,
Heels play.
yeah, yeah, no, no. Aswanga bomwana, mama, kumama yawe, azalaka kisi ya sonye, kisi ya sonye, kisi ya sonye. Mama, hey Yahweh, kumama, hey Yahweh, oh, hey Yahweh, kumama.
Heels play.
nanga na pasi ponanga pona salela mosala na yo na boyi na tosate lokola Jonas olobilobi na seke tuve na monoko ya mbisi maya wana ena tinda na yo mpona tosa yo asalela yo na ye mobimba na nga natiki na mbote ngaye na ye papa nasalela yo bomona nga mobimba inana mareba ya lesha ngawa yayo na boyi nyonso nalandi yo yawe mbeka motu ya na Elohimo. Le Seda. So shalom, shalom, and good morning unto all of our viewers and listeners, those who are attending the session live, and greetings unto all those who will attend the session later on. We greet you in the ancient, as they say, Hebrew tongue, Shalawam. In Kikongo we say Salama, Esalama, which means let it be fulfilled, let it be completed, let it be done. We are grateful unto Elohim. We are grateful unto the Almighty for yet another opportunity that He has given unto us, for yet another chance that He has granted us, for yet another sign of mercy that He has shown unto us, to be able to be alive in this day and age. It is surely mercy that is coming from Him. We bear record that as we live our life, our state of mind, our state of being, is that it is in Elohim that we move and we have our being. When things go well, we thank the Almighty. And when things go to hell, we also thank the Almighty. We do not believe in witches and wizards and demons and stuff. And though they do exist, we do not believe that our life is in their hands. But we believe that Elohim is the source of all power and authority, and that there is nothing that will happen to me. There is nothing that will happen on this earth. There is nothing that will happen in this world if it is not by the permission of Elohim. So therefore, when we are going through difficulties and challenges, we do not sit at home and awaken at midnight to hold an all night where we are fighting against demons and wizards. I think it was yesterday that one of the people that I know sent a video in one of our groups, and there was a guy who was filming a snake that entered his house, and the guy was saying, "There is a snake in my house. We chase you in the name of Jesus. Return to sender. Whoever dispatch this snake, die by fire." And I was looking at the video, and It is such a sad reality, but that is the mindset of churchgoers nowadays. It is as if it is embedded in our belief system that there is always someone hiding in a corner, wishing evil upon us. And I was looking at the snake and I was like, maybe you are living somewhere where there is a bush nearby and the snake was just minding his own business and you had a hole in your house and the snake entered. So if you see a snake, you think that maybe someone dispatched the snake. So what if you see a mouse and a cockroach and a spider? Well, why is it that because of the snake, it has to be like someone who dispatched it? But if it's a cockroach, a mice, a spider, a fly, then all of a sudden there is nothing going on. And that is a crazy mindset that we have developed. Going to church from a young age. We are waking at midnight to hold all nights. And in the all nights that we are holding, we are not seeking for Elohim to reveal himself. We're not looking for the mercy of Elohim, that he may grant us a bigger heart, that he may grant us discipline or love. But when we are having all nights, in the night, what we are usually doing is we are firing witches, we are killing demons, we are binding Satan, and all these things we do. And it is unto our own detriment, because ever since we have been binding Satan, he's still not bound. As a matter of fact, if you observe the way the world is going, you can clearly draw the conclusion that Satan is growing stronger. He is growing stronger. 50 years ago, in Europe, in America, homosexuality around the year 60s was considered as a medical disease. It was considered as a mental disease. In their own books, they have written it. But around the 70s, to be gay was no longer considered a mental issue. It became a normal way of life. And now in the 2021s or 22s, transgenderism and all these things are now the order of the day. But in the meantime, we at the churches have been praying, binding Satan, binding demons, binding wizards. But yet he's growing stronger. So this ought to tell you that maybe we have to reconsider the way we go about our faith and the way we go about our church system. Because as the people that were having the short table talk in how do you call that, intervention, it was short, but they said something that it seems as if the world has been turned upside down. And the truth of the matter is, the world has been turned upside down. As a matter of fact, there is a scripture in the Bible that alludes to this. I think it's somewhere in the book of Proverbs where it says that I've seen an evil under the sun. In that princes are now walking on foot and servants are now sitting upon horses. And this is evil in the sight of Elohim. But this is the world that we are living in. Lies have become the order of the day. All of us have been cast into this spell, into this deception. And the Bible did warn us when it says that, behold, the devil or the dragon or the serpent, the Nahash, who deceiveth the whole world. And this is something not many people want to accept. And that is the only way that you can realize and you can start waking up. You first have to come to the realization that maybe I am being deceived. You have not yet started the journey of your life if that thought has not yet crossed your mind. You have to reach a stage where you are at home, all by yourself, and you are sitting down and relaxing, and you are thinking like, I've monitored my life, I've monitored the things that I do, but what is the reason that I'm doing what I am doing? Why do I believe what I believe in? Why do I go where I go? Why do I do what I do? And the things that I am doing, are they logical? Do they make sense? Are they helping me progress? My belief system, does it make any sense? If these are not the types of questions that you are asking yourself on a daily basis, then there will be no room for improvement. And these are the things that we have been trying to get across to you. These are the things that we are attempting to place in front of you. That can there be a chance that the things that you hold dear with regards to your faith is maybe not true? And one of the topics that we will try to deal with today has to do with the 7 churches, or should I say the 7 assemblies of the book of Revelation. We have heard so many stories about the 7 churches. We have heard so many stories about the 7 assemblies. Sometimes you hear pastors coming and they are quoting and they are saying stuff like, yeah, we are living in the time of the 7th church age. We are living in the time of the Laodicean church age. And you're there, you're like, yeah, we are living in the 7th. You're not sitting down to try to comprehend what that even means. Who decided that we are in the 7th church age? Who told you that? Who told you that? Yeah, because it says that, buy of me gold, try. We are just making statements, and the preacher man will take one verse, and then the whole rest of his sermon will be based on prophetic acrobatics. He will jump up and down and make declarations and give motivational speeches. And after that, you pay your tithe and you go home. But what did you bring home? We are living in the 7th church age. But what does that mean? No idea. What role do you have to play in that? No idea. But today we will show certain things with regarding to the 7 assemblies of the book of Revelation, how it fits in its proper context, and what role we as a people have to play with regards to this 7 churches of Revelation. So to start, you already gave the first slide, which is good. So go to the second one, please. We'll begin by reading.
Revelations chapter 1 from 10.
Go ahead.
I was in the spirit on the day of Yah.
Now, he is telling you that he was in the spirit on the day of Yah.
And heard behind me,
meaning he was in meditation on the Sabbath. And heard behind me
a great voice
as
of a trumpet.
As the minister explained last week, what you have to understand with the book of Revelation, actually the whole book, but especially the epistle of John, is that this epistle is a coded epistle. This epistle was written in code. he used many symbols that only the people of the book could understand. Because every symbol that he used to decode the symbol of this book or this epistle, you will have to have a proper understanding of Hebrew culture and especially the Old Testament. And just like the minister explained, trumpet simply means a message. A trumpet means a message. So at the voice of the archangel, when it will begin to sound, when the archangel sound, that sound that he's sounding, he first must hear it from Elohim. It is a message. And then that ministering angel, the Spirit of truth, will take the message and he will then bring it unto a messenger on this earth, being a servant of Elohim. And that Spirit of truth will teach that servant the message which he heard. And then that messenger, servant of Elohim, is then to explain the doctrine to the people. So when it says that I heard at the sound of the archangel, what was the message of the archangel? That message of the archangel was a sign unto all the true ministers of Elohim to begin to preach unto the people so that the children of Israel may awaken. And that message has been sounded in all of our ears, and all that we hear is we must prepare the way for the children of Israel to awaken. So the final message of the voice of the archangel is, arise, ye children of Israel. That is why you see everything we are linking and we are reading in the Bible, we will always link it to who are the Hebrews. Because this is the biggest hidden secret. And at the same time, the biggest lie that has been ever told in the history of humanity. So as John says, and I heard the trumpet, it simply means, and the Spirit of truth began to teach me. Go ahead.
Verse 11, saying, I am Alpha.
Saying, I am the Alpha.
And Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book, and send it unto the 7 assemblies which are in Asia.
So the angel is telling him, the visions you will see, write it in a book, and dispatch it unto the
7 assemblies
which are
in Asia,
unto
Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea.
So, just for context sake, when you read about the 7 churches, and you hear Laodicea and Thyatira and Smyrna, do not get caught up in the names. Because the names you are reading then and the names you are reading now will never be the same. Because Edom has decided to change all names. Just so that you, when you will try to look back into history, will not know where to begin and where to end. Because this Asia, for example, that you are now calling Asia, when you are reading Asia in this context, it is not the Asia that you think or that you know. It's not the Asia that you think and that you know. When they're speaking of Asia, you're thinking about China and Japan. No, my friend. No, my friend. Did you know that they will tell you that the modern day Israel now is within the Asian Peninsula? They will tell you that the most northern part of Egypt now falls within the Asian Peninsula. But at the same time, in ancient time, this place that they are calling Asia was simply known as a part of ancient Ethiopia or Abyssinia. Because Ethiopia or Abyssinia stretched from the west from the central of Africa all the way to the furthest corner of India. All of that was known as Ethiopia, Abyssinia, or sometimes Asia. So when he's telling you the 7 church ages which are in Asia, you are reading Laodicea, Smyrna, all European names. But do not let the names fool you. Because even the name of the apostle, John, is a European name. But who told you that his name was John? So if you will believe that Thyatira really means Thyatira, you're already fooled. Just like John, his name was not John, his name was Yokana, or to be heard, or Yahukanan. But now you are reading John. So if they were able to change the name of the apostles, don't you think they will also change the name of places? That is why, for the sake of context, do not yet get lost in the names, but read it from a further and a broader perspective. So continue reading.
From verse 11 again, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book and send it to the 7 assemblies. Verse 12, and I turned to see the voice that spake with me.
And as I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me,
And being turned,
and when I turned,
I saw 7 golden
Listen,
candlesticks.
I saw 7 golden candlesticks.
The mystery of the 7 stars,
We are jumping to verse 20. Now, the mystery of the 7 stars,
which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 assemblies.
Now, the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 assemblies, meaning the physical ministers, the physical representation, the prophets that are sent to the 7 assemblies.
So the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 assemblies,
Uh-huh.
and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest
Are.
are the 7 assemblies.
Now, the first thing we must try to unlock is, what is the real identity of these 7 churches? Because one of the lies that they will tell you, and that is embedded within Christian doctrine and philosophy, is what? That the 7 churches is different from Israel. That is where things go wrong. The moment you remove Israel from the Bible, there is no Bible anymore. The Christians are so filled with the Holy Ghost, and they have such an audacity to claim that from the time of the New Testament, Israel was put on standby by Elohim, and Elohim was only focusing on the church. And the church means the converts will believe in Jesus Christ. That is their mindset. So now, when they are reading Revelation, pastors can claim and say, everywhere you read Israel, just remove Israel, place yourself there. And I've heard this statement often, but it's an insult and it's a lie. Where you read Israel, do not place yourself there if you are not Israel. Israel is Israel. So whenever you read to the 7 churches, from a Christian doctrine, they said the 7 churches simply means the dispensation of the New Testament church as it evolves through time. That's why they say that they can claim that all of the world now, we are living in the time of the 7 church age of Laodicea. So every church you are seeing now, if you are walking in Amsterdam, more than 10,000 churches, all of them are part of the 7 church, Laodicea. In America, all the same. But Israel is not included. But let us see if this doctrine stands the test of Scripture. Now, what does these 7 candlesticks mean? Because he said the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are...
The 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 assemblies.
Okay, so let's move to the next slide. What does the 7 candlesticks mean?
So what does the menorah represent?
Go ahead.
Exodus 25 and verse 31.
But I think for this one, you will need your own Bible because I just gave the abbreviation in this slide. So Exodus 25, begin from verse 30 and 1.
Exodus chapter 25, starting from verse 30 and 1.
What does the menorah or the 7 candlesticks mean?
And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold. Of
which verse?
Exodus 25 from verse 30 and 1.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold. Of beaten work shall the candlestick be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowels, his knobs, and his flower shall be of the same. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. 3 bowls made like unto almonds, with a knob and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a with a knob and a flower. So in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick. And the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knobs and their flowers. Verse 35. And there shall be a knob under 2 branches of the same, and a knob under 2 branches of the same, and a knob under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlesticks. Their knobs and their branches shall be of the same, and it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. Verse 37. And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof.
Verse 37. First he was describing it, and now he's saying, and thou wilt make the 7 lamps
thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof,
that they might give
light over against it.
So here Elohim is telling Moses how to set up the menorah, that it ought to have in total 7 candlesticks on one holder, and it represents the lights from that context. And that light also has a meaning. So the idea from the menorah, the reason why the Hebrews always have the sign of the menorah is because the Hebrews were called the light of the world. So Isaiah 49:6.
Isaiah 49 from verse 6. I will also give thee for a light.
If you read from verse 1, you see this is Elohim addressing his speech unto Israel, his servant. And he says in verse 6, I will also give thee
for a light to the Gentiles.
For a light to whom?
To the Gentiles.
So Israel is supposed to be the light
to the Gentiles, that thou may be my salvation unto the end of the earth.
Let the Messiah confirm it. The book of Matthew.
Matthew chapter 5 from verse 14.
Or Matityahu or Mateya. Go ahead.
Ye are the light of the world.
Who did he address this to?
This is to the apostles.
Was he addressing the Gentiles?
The Israelite apostles.
When the narrow Phoenician woman came unto the Messiah, she was a Phoenician woman, so she was a Canaanite. He looked at her and he said, I was not sent but
to the house of Israel.
So when he was saying this, ye are the light.
Ye are the light of the world.
A city
that is set on a hill cannot be hid.
Neither do men
light a candle.
You see the symbol? Neither do men
light a candle
and put it
under a bushel.
So the menorah represents the light. The light represents Israel, because they are the light of the world. So now when you go back to the book of Revelation, he said the 7 candlesticks which he saw are the 7 assemblies. So who are the 7 assemblies? It is Israel. But we are continuing. Next slide, please. Yeah, Israel is done away with. When you read Revelation, it has to do with the New Testament church, we the Christians. Ask your pastor, could you please prove that with Bible verse? And he will have none. But we will continue to show you the Bible verses. Now to confirm, Revelation 12 from 14.
And to the woman.
And to the
woman.
So you see there are many symbols for Israel. It is the fig tree is a symbol for Israel. The menorah is a symbol for Israel. The woman clothed in glorious apparel is a symbol for Israel. There are many symbols. The sheep is a symbol for Israel. So continue. And the woman.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle,
that she
might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time,
from the face
of the serpent.
So the woman was sent to flee into the wilderness, and she was given eagle's wings, so that she may go and hide herself, fulfilling the prophecy that Israel would be scattered from the face of the dragon. Another Bible verse. So if you read that whole Revelation 12, you will see how it happened. How Herod in the book of Matthew dispatched the people to go into all the houses where the newborns were born, so that they may go and kill all the Hebrew children, because he heard of the prophecy of the Messiah, but he failed. So Revelation 12 is speaking about all the nation of Israel and the tribulation that they will go through to the hand of Satan and his people. So John 1:1.
the elder.
Listen, this is the same John that wrote the book of Revelation. He's now saying the elder
Unto the elect lady.
unto the.
Elect lady.
Now, the elect lady is simply another word for unto the scattered people of Israel. Because Israel is the elect lady. Because the Bible says Zion is the mother of us all. You see? And he said, I have chosen Zion. For Elohim loveth the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. So when Jehukanan is writing, he's saying, Jehukanan, the elder, unto the elect
lady and her children,
whom
I love in the truth, and not only I, but also all they that have known the truth.
1 Peter 1:1.
So Peter,
Peter,
an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach,
or Cephas, a servant and an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach.
To the strangers.
To the whom?
To the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia.
Where
and
are they
Bithynia.
scattered throughout?
Scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia.
How does Peter call them? Strangers. So they are scattered throughout the same places where the angel came to Jehukanan and said, send letters.
That's right.
So you see, another place the Bible calls them the elect lady. Another place Peter calls them the strangers that are scattered throughout. And then give me James 1:1.
James 1:1. James, a servant of Elohim and of the Master Yahushua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad.
That is key. James, to the whom?
To the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad.
No, they are in Israel.
To the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad.
They are scattered
abroad.
That is why they needed to send letters. Because the nation of Israel was no more. The Hebrews were scattered to fulfill Bible prophecy. And Elohim, being so wise, he knew that a time would come that Israel would no longer be a nation, but the curse of Deuteronomy would come to pass because they are a disobedient people, and they will be scattered abroad and they will lose themselves. So that is why first he initiated the order of the apostles. And what they began to do was they began to be dispatched. They became missionaries to go to all the places where they knew the Hebrews would be found. And there they began to teach unto them the message of Yahushua HaMashiach. So one of the things they also did was they began to send letters. Why? Because when they were scattered abroad, not everyone had a copy of the Bible. All you do is think that you are living in 2021 and the whole world has been living in 2021. No, you have a copy of the Bible now, but 2,000 years ago, who had a copy of the Bible, my friend? No one. When the people wanted to go for worship, the only place where they could find the Bible was in the temple, and it was in the form of scrolls. So no one had the Bible in their hands, unless if you were dignitary. So now the apostles began to send letters through hand to people so they can give it to the places where the Hebrews were scattered. So what you are reading in Revelation is not something new. Peter has been doing it. Yahukanan has been doing it. James has been doing it also. To confirm the scattering of the Hebrews, Acts 2 and 5.
Acts chapter 2 from 5.
Read.
And they were dwelling at Jerusalem,
Listen.
Hebrews.
And they were dwelling in Jerusalem, Hebrews.
Devout men
Out
of every nation under heaven.
You see, they were living in Jerusalem, Hebrews, devout men out of every
nation under heaven.
Why are they coming from every nation under heaven? Because they were scattered. But why were they coming to Jerusalem? Because Elohim ordered us in our sacred texts that 3 times a year will ye all males appear before me in Jerusalem.
That's right.
One of the times that people that were of Hebrew stock had to be in Jerusalem was to celebrate the feast of Passover or Pascha. So that is why all the Hebrews that were of note and that had the means to pay, they would all come to Jerusalem. That is why the Apostle Paul, whom you claim that he was not under the law, when he was in Italy, he told the people, I must by all means go to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. So all the Hebrews that were coming, they were coming to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. But where were they coming from?
So from Acts chapter 2 verse 9,
Uh-huh.
they were Parthians
Parthian is what you can call Iran now.
and Medes
Medes is what you can call the continent or the place close to Iran.
and Elamites
Elam is what you can call India.
and the dwellers in Mesopotamia.
And the dwellers of the country that dwells between two borders. But Mesopotamia in itself is a topic on its own. So to be continued. Go
and
ahead.
in Judea
And Judea
and Cappadocia
and Cappadocia, which is Greece.
and Pontus
Pontus, which is Greece.
and Asia
Asia, which we said is a part of Abyssinia, is the greatest or the biggest continent in the world. Go ahead.
and Persia
And Phrygia
and Pamphylia
and Pamphylia
in Egypt
in Egypt.
and in the parts of Libya
So Egypt, Africa. Pamphylia, Africa. Phrygia, Africa. Continue.
and in the parts of Libya
Libya, Africa.
about Cyrene
Cyrene. I will get to Cyrene later. Africa.
and strangers of Rome.
And strangers of Rome. So of all the designated places that he mentioned, 50% or 60% of the places that he mentioned were in Africa, and the other 20% was in Asia, and maybe just 10% was Europe. So dear people,
Only the strangers of Rome.
so dear people, of all the names listed of the places that the people that are Hebrews were coming from, it was a place where melanated people were living. So what are you saying and what are you talking about? What are you saying and what are you talking about? All the people that were coming from melanated places because they were scattered abroad. That is why the apostles were sending letters to them. So when you read, the apostles sent a letter to Laodicea, do not think of Europeans. Think of scattered Hebrews that happen to live in Laodicea. Don't you not know that the apostle Shaul, who was confused for an Egyptian, was walking with a friend called Nigger? Don't you know that he was a Roman citizen? Meaning, Apostle Shaul was born in Rome. Did you know that? But the guy was jet black. Do not be deceived. The guy was jet black. He said, Hebrew of the Hebrews. But these things you don't consider. You read, to the church of Laodicea. So now you are thinking, the church of Amsterdam. Which Amsterdam?
The Church of Amsterdam.
Which Amsterdam? Stop putting in your mind that every time you're reading the Bible, all you keep doing is you are seeing European names. And that is also part of the deception why Elohim is so angry. They changed the names. They changed the locations. They ruined everything. So now when we stand up and we start talking, you classify us as mad. But the Bible said, according to the way of heresy, so do we worship the Elohim of our ancestors.
That's right.
But you rejected your ancestors. Everything that has to do with your forefathers, you reject. You reject. But McDonald's you like. KFC you like. When they say eat some of your local traditional food, you're like, yeah. You are already programmed. But to continue, now give me the book of 4th Baruch. Because for you to understand that the sending of epistles to the scattered ones is not a New Testament concept. And that is also what kills us. All that we do is we look at the New Testament to draw our conclusions. Dear brothers, dear sisters, dear preachers, dear prophets, if you can draw a conclusion based on the New Testament only, then I'm here to suggest to you that your conclusion is incorrect, simply because you don't have the full information. You can never establish a doctrine based on New Testament. It makes no sense. That's why the Bible said, and the foundation that Elohim laid was laid upon the prophets. The prophets stand for the Old Testament and of the apostles. The first foundation is and always has been the prophets. And the apostles came second. So if an apostle can come and can declare something against Moses, you apostle are false. This is also one of the Christian teachings. Yeah, there is a fivefold ministry and the apostle is the number one. Who told you that? There is no apostle from the 12 that can be compared to none or any of the prophets of old. They are the pillars of Elohim. So you must go to the Old Testament before you can establish a doctrine. So let's read from the Old Testament. The 4th book of Baruch.
Chapter 7 from verse 1.
Yes, for your information, this is part of the Old Testament. It just happens to be that you don't know the 4th book of Baruch. Why? Because you believed in the canonical classification of the Catholic Church. Because your Holy Papa said the 4th book of Baruch is not canonical or canon, you decided to refute this book. But we are here to tell you that the 4th book of Baruch is part of the Old Testament. So read the 4th book of Baruch.
The 4th book of Baruch, chapter 7 from verse 1.
This is a summary from verse 1 to 16, but I just took out snippets. If you want to read it in its proper context, you can search it online and read. Go ahead.
And Baruch arose.
And Baruch, the servant of Jeremiah, arose.
And he went out of the tomb, and he found the eagle sitting outside of the tomb. And the eagle said to him, I was sent here so that whatever message you wish to send, you might send it through me. And Baruch said to him, are you able to carry this message to Jeremiah in Babylon?
In where?
Jeremiah in Babylon.
So the Hebrews were already scattered around this time to Babylon.
And the eagle said to him, for this purpose indeed was I sent. And Baruch, taking the letter and 15 figs from Abimelech's basket, tied them around the neck of the eagle and said to him, I say to you, King of birds, go in peace with health and transport the message for me. They passed in front of the eagle, and the eagle cried out in a loud voice, saying, I say to you, Jeremiah.
So the eagle flew from the mountains of Africa. He flew towards Babylon, and there he met Jeremiah, and then he saw as they passed in front of him, and the eagle began to speak and said, I say to you,
Jeremiah,
the elect
of Elohim, depart and gather the people, that they might come to this place in order to hear the letter which I have brought to you from Baruch and Abimelech.
You see, if you understand this concept, that Elohim always did this. When his people were scattered, he would always try to send a messenger, a prophet, and with the prophet, he will always send a doctrine, a letter. It is nothing new. It was the same thing in Jeremiah 44. When he went to Egypt, he also went with a letter and he began speaking to them, thus saith Elohim. You guys think whenever a prophet comes, just like Jeremiah or just like Jonah came to Nineveh, you always think that when he comes, he begins to speak. No, they write things down. They write things down. So this is the Old Testament concept. He has been doing it every time his people would be scattered. So then when you understand that and you read the New Testament, you're like, I see, it is the same pattern happening again. It is not something new. Ooh, it has been done from ever since. It has been done from ever since. So dear people, the letters written to the 7 assemblies, the 7 assemblies are a symbol of the menorah, which stands for the people of Israel. The people of Israel are supposed to be the light of the world, and they are supposed to be the one that ministered the gospel unto all the nations. So that is why when they were scattered, Elohim sent letters to the hands of the apostles so that they would be warned. But the reason why he sent it in secrecy in the book of Revelation is because at that time, if we are to believe what they said, Yahuchanan was in prison in the Isle of Patmos. The Isle of Patmos was a place where they would keep prisoners in Greece. So he was writing a letter in prison, and afterwards, guess what he had to do? He had to give the letter to the bailiff. And then the bailiff would have to give it to his people, and then his people would send it abroad. So what do you think the soldiers would do when Jeremiah or when Yahukanan would give them the letter? What do you think they would do?
Read it.
They would open the letter and read it and be like, what is this Negro talking about? So when they begin to read, to the church of Ephesus, I will blow out your candlestick and I saw a dragon. They'll be like, this guy's mad. So they will not even pay attention. That's why it was written in a code. But Jeremiah knew these Gentiles do not study the Old Testament, so they will just think that it is heresy. But the prophets and the people that are situated and that are learned, when they read, the wise will understand. That is why he had to write it in such a manner. You read dragon, tail, beast, you're like, what is this guy talking about? But you read about, and I saw the beast coming out of the sea. He had eyes like a leopard, etc. The Romans wouldn't know. But if you are someone that have read the Old Testament, you're like, hey, a leopard, this is coming from the beast of Daniel. So you will be able to connect the dots. But if you hate the Old Testament, first of all, you will never understand the book of Revelation, never in your life. And then you will come up with fantasies, and you will start telling Jackie Chan stories. So when your pastor is in the church, he's preaching the book of Revelation, you're like, is Thanos coming? is Iron Man coming? It is so wonderful. Two people are in an airplane, and then one will be raptured. I'm like, this is Steven Spielberg. So people are in an airplane, and the pilot happens to be a Christian, and as he is just flying, he's on 100,000 kilometers altitude. Elohim is like, yeah, man, it's time to go. And then he zaps him away, and all the people crash and die. And this is your logic. Yeah, you're doing grocery shops, and then all of a sudden, you turn around and your friend is gone. People, has he become a clown? Has he become a clown? People. But hey, that is religion for you. So we are continuing. Now, Darius, go back to that same Acts 2:5. Read the countries. Read out the countries again. Acts 2 verse 9. Return back. Go back one slide, please. Yes, Acts 2. Read from verse 9 again.
So the last two verses, Acts 2 from 5, and they were dwelling at Jerusalem,
Just 9,
Hebrews, from verse 9, and they came from Parthia, and Medes, Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, in Pontus, and Asia, and Phrygia, and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya, about Cyrene.
Remember Cyrene,
and strangers of Rome, Hebrews and proselytes.
So go to the next slide, and then to the next slide again. This one. You all saw Cyrene. Do you guys remember the one who carried
the
cross of our Savior? Matthew 27:32. As they went out,
they found a man of Cyrene,
Simeon
by name. They compelled this man to carry his cross.
Now, what does Britannica.com say about Cyrene?
So Cyrene is an ancient Greek colony in Libya.
In Libya.
Founded in 631 BC by a group of emigrants from the islands of Thera in the Aegean, located in northeast Africa.
No, located in Asia.
Located in northeast Africa.
In the continent that they do not want to mention. Cyrene, so Simon the Cyrene was an African. But what was he doing in Jerusalem at that time? It was because he was a Hebrew man scattered abroad, and he came to celebrate the Passover. This is Simon the Cyrene for you. But when you read it, you just pass over it. You don't pay any mind. You don't pay attention. Because you have been whitewashed, you have been brainwashed, you have been indoctrinated. This is Simon the Cyrene for you. But we are continuing. Because apart from the Cyrenian, he also mentioned other places. So go to the next slide, please. And the topic is still the 7 churches. And we are focusing on Ephesus and Smyrna. but this is just groundwork. The Ethiopian, read.
From chapter 8.
This is Acts chapter 8 verse 27.
And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia.
This is Philip. And he arose because the Ruach said, get up, my friend. And he went.
And behold,
a
man of Ethiopia.
He saw a man of Ethiopia.
A eunuch of great authority.
He was a eunuch of power.
Under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians.
Under Candace, the queen of Ethiopia.
Who had the charge of all her treasure. And had come to Jerusalem for to worship.
Why would an Ethiopian,
an African,
why would an Ethiopian, why would an Abyssinian, why would an African go to Jerusalem for to worship? Because he was a Hebrew man. And according to our law, 3 times a year you must appear in Jerusalem to worship. So that is why he was there. He was an Ethiopian, but he was a Hebrew. So he went there to worship. Go ahead.
He was of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship. And he was returning.
And as he was going home to Ethiopia,
and sitting in his chariot,
he sat in his chariot because he had money.
He read Isaiah the prophet.
He was what?
He read Isaiah the prophet.
How did this man have a document of the book of Isaiah in his hand? This was more than 2,000 years ago. For your information, the people did not have the Bible in their homes.
That's right.
You had to be royalty to have a copy of the Bible. This guy, the Ethiopian prince, had a copy of the Bible in his hand. And he was reading the book of Isaiah. Even Philip did not have a scroll in his hand. The Messiah did not have a scroll. He had to go to the temple to read because he had no money. Peter, broke fisherman, had no scroll. Shaul, he only had a scroll in the temple. When he left, he had no scroll. He was pitching tents, no money. But this Ethiopian exceeded them all in riches. So he came with his chariots filled with gold and decadence. And he had within his belongings a copy of the book of Isaiah, which must tell you he must have been someone who was either of the royal house, otherwise he wouldn't have it. So Philip came to him and he began to explain things unto him, because this man was a Hebrew man. This man was a Hebrew man. So, what is the link between Ethiopia and Hebrews? Zephaniah
chapter 3 from verse 10. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia.
From beyond the
rivers of Ethiopia.
No, the rivers of somewhere in the Middle East.
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia.
He's saying from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia.
My suppliants.
They're my suppliants.
Even the daughter of my dispersed.
The people that are scattered, the descendants of my scattered ones,
shall bring my offering.
They will bring my offering. In Kikongo offering, we say minga. It means they will bring my set apart things. Why is he not saying from Middle East? He's saying, where will the people be?
From beyond.
They will be from beyond the
rivers of Ethiopia.
Now, these rivers of Ethiopia that he's speaking about the river Nile. And it just so happens to be that the people that live in Ethiopia, that live close to the border of the river Nile, they are called the Tigri people. The Tigri people. The Tigri people. The river Nile, one of its ancient names, also the Tigris River. So when he says from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, he's speaking about the river Nile, because the river Nile, when it goes down, it stretches itself out into 2 outskirts. One goes towards, is it Sudan? And the other goes towards Egypt. That is the river Nile. And he's saying if you go beyond the river Nile, you will go into Central Africa, South Africa. He says, there my descendants will be. There my descendants will be. That is why this guy came from Ethiopia to Jerusalem to worship. That is why you see the Cyrenian man also came to worship. Continue reading.
Zephaniah 3 from 10. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring my offering.
Amos 9:7.
Are ye not,
This is Elohim asking the children of Israel, are you not
as the children of the Ethiopians unto me?
have we placed this in the Bible? Did you do this? Because I heard you have a master. Did you do this? Huh? Because he's saying Amos 9, he said, are ye not
As the children of the Ethiopians unto me,
oh
O children of Israel,
is this Elohim?
saith Yah.
Oh, it's a prophet. He's saying, are you
Not
like
as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel.
you think Elohim is dumb? That's why you see Africa has been bombarded, conquered. Ethiopia not. Why do you think his wisdom is beyond understanding? His wisdom is unfathomable. How did he do this? Africa has been bombarded, conquered. They could not conquer Ethiopia. So now when you think of Ethiopians, that's why Ethiopians did not change. So Elohim was so smart, he even asked, can an Ethiopian change his skin? His wisdom is beyond understanding. Congo people bleach, South Africans bleach, Ethiopians bleach not. Just like they are up until today. Have you seen a white Ethiopian before?
Never.
Ethiopians are brown black. Elohim is saying, are you not like the Ethiopians?
Unto
me, said Elohim. Said Elohim. Go ahead.
Psalm 68 from verse 31. Princes shall come out of Egypt.
Princes will come out of Egypt.
And
that is why you saw people coming in the book of Acts from Egypt to Jerusalem to bring forth the Passover. So princes shall come out of Egypt.
Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands
To whom?
unto Elohim.
Is this what we have placed in the Bible? It has been there from ever since. But your preacher never touches these verses. All he does is, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. How often can you quote that? How often can you can... No comment. But this is all in your Bible. And then you see the Ethiopian man holding an old book. You're like, what? What is that in his hand? Yeah, what is it in his hand? Next slide, please. Go ahead.
The oldest,
Listen.
the oldest, most complete gospel book on earth
Is
in Ethiopia.
called.
The Garima Gospels,
It is dated somewhere.
in between the years 330 and 650 AD.
330. So it means it is even older than Islam. It is even older than Islam.
And all her prophets.
Goodness mercies. It is older than Islam. And has been saved for centuries in a remote Ethiopian
Monastery.
Now that is simply the gospel. But now the Ethiopian Bible, which is something else, is
the oldest and most complete Bible on earth.
it includes
The books of Enoch,
What?
Esdras, Baruch,
Who's Enoch? It includes the books of Enoch,
Esdras,
Baruch,
and
the
all,
one we just read,
and all three books of the Maccabees,
and the Maccabees.
and a host of others.
You only know first and second Maccabees. Have you found the third one yet? So continue reading.
So it includes the books of Enoch, Esdras, Baruch, and all the three books of the Maccabees, and a host of others that were excommunicated from the King James Version.
People, excommunicated by whom? By whose authority? Who ordered you? Who mandated you? Who legalized you? Who sanctioned you? Funny, red-looking people with hats, set somewhere, inspired by devils. They formed a religion. They took the truth, they turned it upside down, and they said, behold, Egypt, your gods. And you are walking around, hey, I'm a Christian. Oh, goodness, Jesus. We are in trouble because the devil has transformed himself into an angel of light. And he has walked around, and now he is teaching the people. And the people now believe him. So the servant has now become the master. And he's telling all the children of the king, you are slaves. And because the king is away for a season, now we, princes, believe that we are slaves. So now the ego is growing up with chickens. And instead of the ego saying, one day I will chop the chickens, now you, the ego, are afraid, thinking that one day you will turn into shish kebab. That is the issue. So written in Ge'ez,
an ancient dead language of Ethiopia.
Dead declared by whom? I'm sick of these statements. Dead declared by whom? Just because you don't understand it, do you have to declare it dead? Go ahead.
It's nearly 800 years older than the King James versions.
The European masterwork, the King James. But he's saying it is nearly 800 years older
than the King James version
and contains
over 100 books compared to the 66 of the Protestant Bible.
Who mandated the Catholics to only leave 66 books behind and remove some of the others? Ask yourself. So when you read and quote the book of Enoch, the book of Baruch, Christians are like, bleh! Are like, no, this is from the devil. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. And I'm like, you rebuke this in whose name? And then I'm like, so you rebuke the book of Enoch and Maccabees, but you can quote from Philemon. You can take your time and you can quote the. Have you ever heard your pastor quote the book of Philemon before? Why would Elohim leave behind such a useless book? Have you ever heard someone preach from the book of Philemon? There's no doctrine. There is nothing, stories, fantasies. I went fishing and then I saw Philemon. End of the chapter. You're like, no. When you want to quote the book of Enoch, Maccabee, no, it's false. It's a lie. But let me show you something. One of the books it contains is the book of Enoch. Next slide, please. Behold, Enoch.
The Ethiopian.
Read. So people are like, who is Enoch? What is this? What are you showing this? Do you know why they removed the book of Enoch? Enoch revealed many mysteries. Enoch removed and showed people many mysteries. A direct descendant of Adam, he was still in his natural pure state. He showed unto us how the angels came and fell. He showed unto us how the angels mingled themselves with the people and they created a species of their own. All these mysteries he showed unto us. What he also showed us was the identity of the seven
angels.
You will not find this anywhere else. So if you don't have the book of Enoch, how will you know? Revelations
4:5.
And out of the throne
proceeded lightnings and thunderings.
I sent lightnings and fire. I'm like, people, with all due respect, but are you mad? So you read Revelation 4, and out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunder, and then you're like, I sent light. Are you sitting on the throne?
Do you have
do you have a throne? I sent lightning and fire. Go ahead.
And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne.
And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne,
which are the 7 spirits of Yah.
which are the
seven spirits
what
of
will
Yah.
Christians tell you? And the prophet is so deep. You see him walking around. He's like kaba shata kaba 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 shata kaba 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 kaba. Ooh. And then he's walking around. I'm invoking spirits. The seven spirits. And then he quotes Isaiah. and behold, upon him will rest the spirit of wisdom, might. I'm like, wow! I'm like, whoa! Because this is what they teach. Yeah, the seven spirits of Yah, Isaiah. I'm like, please. No supporting evidence. No supporting evidence. Just because they, and even if you read that Isaiah that they quote, if you read the spirit, it's 6. They make up the 7th. That's what they do. But read.
So Tobit 12 from verse 15.
Another book they removed. The book of Tobit, they removed. Now listen what the book of Tobit says.
The angel Raphael says.
Have you read the name Raphael in your Bible before? Why? They hid it from you. And the angel Raphael
says,
this angel, when you read the pool of Bethesda, there was a pool there for healing. Raphael the angel was the one responsible for the angel ascending and descending there. Because Raphael is the angel of healing. It's him. And then you are like, when the Christian, the pool of Bethesda, it was Jesus Christ. How was it Jesus Christ? And it was the same Jesus Christ that stood against the man. What's wrong with you? But that's what they do. Everything is, Jesus Christ. So read, continue.
Tobit 12 from 15. The angel Raphael says, I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels.
He says, I am Raphael, one of the
7 holy
angels.
angels.
So the next time your preacher quotes Isaiah, said these are the 7 spirits, ask him, but preacher, if these are the 7 spirits that you are referencing in Isaiah, why is none of these 7 you mentioned called Raphael? He says, I am Raphael, one of the
7 holy angels who present the prayers of the saints and enter into the presence of the glory of the Holy One.
Now, let's go to the master teacher himself, Enoch the Ethiopian.
So first Enoch.
The reason why we are calling him Enoch the Ethiopian, for your information, if you look online and you search for the book of Enoch, there are many versions of the book of Enoch. There is the Coptic version and another there is the Slavonic version.
Wow.
But you also have the Ethiopic or what's it called?
Ethiopian.
It is you have the Ethiopian version of the book of Enoch. That is where we get this from. The doctrine in this book is sound, perfect. That's why they call him Enoch the Ethiopian, because they found these things in Ethiopia. Because when all the other Bible copies did not contain this book, lo and behold, the old Ethiopian man, jet black, held it in his hand. The book of Enoch. So the book of Enoch,
chapter 20 from 1.
Read.
And these are the names of the holy angels who watch.
It sounds like perfection to me. And these are the names of the holy angels who watch.
Uriel, one of the holy angels.
That's one.
Who is over the world and over Tartarus. Raphael, one of the holy angels.
For your information, Uriel is the one who holds the key to the bottomless pit. It is Uriel. The second one, Raphael,
one of the holy angels,
one of the holy ones,
who is over the spirits of men.
He's over the spirits of men.
Raguel, one of the holy angels,
one of the holy ones,
who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries.
He's the one who smites the sun and smites the moon.
Michael, one of the holy angels,
So
with he that is set over the best part of mankind.
The best part of mankind being Israel.
And
that is why when you read in the book of Daniel, he said, behold, there is none that standeth with me except for Michael, your prince.
That's right.
He's the guardian angel of Israel. Go ahead.
He that is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos. Sarakel, one of the holy angels, who was set over the spirits who sin in the spirit. Gabriel, one of the holy angels, who is over paradise.
Who's over paradise.
And the serpents and the cherubim.
And the cherubim.
Remiel, one of the holy angels, whom Elohim set over those who rise.
Whom Elohim set over those who are set for elevation. So these are the 7 angels that you read in the book of Revelation. Take away the book of Enoch, and all your prophet will do is lie. All your prophet will do is lie. So Enoch, the great one, who was before Moses and Abraham, was an Ethiopian man. They removed his name and they removed his story from your Bible because he showed you where all the sins of the world come from, what the fallen angels have done to mankind. And when you read it and you look at the world, it will make sense and you will run away from sin a bit more. And because they knew that, the people of sin said, no, you must remove this. That is the Enoch that we're speaking of. So we are continuing. Next slide.
We jumped the last verse, right?
Yeah, about the 7
Testimony.
yeah, jumped. Okay, here you see in front of you. No, next slide. They are still there today. Maybe you think we are smoking marijuana. Go to Israel. These are the Falasha Jews, also known as Beta Israel. Up until today, they exist in Ethiopia. The people of Ethiopia themselves call them the strangers because they say we are the Yahudi. We are Israelites. Up until today, they exist. But the world looks at them as if they are crazy, fulfilling Bible prophecy. Fulfilling Bible prophecy. Go to the next slide.
And because of the strength of their history, even Israel had to acknowledge them as Israelites.
The devil acknowledging the light. Next slide. So now let's focus on, as we said, the 7 churches. I just gave you proper context to understand. All of them were black, were found in Africa. That's why they were dispersed. Some went to Europe and stuff, but most of them are found in Africa. So when he was sending the letters, many of the letters he was sending was towards Africa. When you read all the European names, don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. So, in order to prove that the 7 churches mentioned in Revelation is Israel, and that the Israelites are the Bantus, the Hebrews, the Igbo, the Khabirus. We will look at what Elohim says of them. We'll look at their strengths and their weaknesses and the characteristics Elohim gives, their challenges, and then yourself, you will conclude. So read. The assembly in
Ephesus, in Revelations 2 from 1.
Listen at what the angel says.
Unto the angel of the assembly of Ephesus write,
These things
said he that holds the 7 stars in his right hand,
who walks.
in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks.
So he is the one who walks in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks and who has control over the 7 angels.
I know thy works.
I understand and I know your works.
And your labor.
And I know how you are working, you are laboring.
And thy patience.
And I know that you are patient because people, we have been suffering for thousands of years. We have been suffering for thousands of years. Nevertheless, if you go to every black person under the sun, 99% of all of us, we are still religious. Have you ever come across an atheistic black person before? If you address 10 Negroes, maybe one of them may be an atheist, but 9 of them will be religious. We will believe in a certain God. But address 10 Europeans, 8 of them will be atheists. 2 will be religious. But of the 2 that is religious, 1 of them will be and homosexual and religious at the same time. I'm serious. So Elohim is saying, I know people, none can labor with regards to religion like us. If you want to see the purest form of Islam, go and study the blacks. You want to see the purest form of Christianity? People, we believe more in a white God than the whites themselves, man. We believe in Jesus Christ more than the whites themselves, people. What are you saying? What are you talking about? We believe more in Buddha than Ming Shongxing himself. Every form of religion, give it to the blacks, they will master it. When we believe hardcore. We give our soul, everything to that religion. That's how we are. It's embedded in our nature. So Elohim says, I know your works.
And thy labor.
He has not yet said that it is positive or negative. He's simply saying, I know you labor. Did not Shaul say, my prayer for Israel is that they may gain knowledge. Why? Because they are what?
They have a zeal.
They have a zeal. But
not according to
so Elohim is saying, people, I know you. I know you. I know your works, and I know how you labor, and I know your patience. You have nothing, yet you believe in a God. It's patience. Go ahead.
And how you cannot bear them which are evil.
And you cannot bear them which are
evil. And thou hast tried them which say they are apostles.
And you have tried them which say that they are apostles.
And are not.
And has found them
liars.
And has found them
liars. And has borne.
And you has borne.
And has patience.
And has patience.
And for my name's sake has labored.
And you have labored.
And has not fainted.
And you have not fainted.
Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee.
He's saying, despite all your endeavors, I have something against you.
Because thou hast left thy first love.
That is the issue. And this is the key to understand who the Ephesians are. Elohim says you are religious. You are zealous. You are trying to fight them which are evil. Them who claim to be apostles and are not. He's saying, nevertheless, I have a problem with you. You have left your
first love.
What does that mean?
Remember therefore from whence thou art fallen.
What does that mean? You have left your first love. Many people say it has to do with your religion and your faith. What leaving your first love simply means is, you know, the times when you repent, you are so zealous for Elohim, just like a baby. You'll do everything for Elohim. But then later on, when you are used to being repented for like 5 years or 3 years, you become lukewarm. You begin to compromise. And that is what it means to leave your first love. I understand that that way of thinking, and it is correct on a one-dimensional level. It is correct on a one-dimensional level. From a personal level, I can understand that teaching. But this, he's not addressing to one person. He's addressing a gathering of people. So we have to address it from another level. What does it mean when a people leave their first love? What does it mean? In the book of Moses, when he is singing his song and he's lamenting the song of Moses, he said, when Yeshurun grew fat, they forsake Elohim. And they began to worship gods whom their fathers did not know. Dear people, he said, when you will be scattered abroad, you will worship stone and wood, meaning Islam and Christianity. So people, when he said you have forsaken your first love, who were we worshiping before the Europeans came? People, you despise your ancestors. According to you, your grandpa was a witch. According to you, your descendants were Satan worshippers. But now, because you are so special, Elohim gave you the grace to believe in Jesus. So that means that everyone that was before you, that were living before the Europeans came, so you are saying all of them went to hell. Can you fathom your logic? Do you sometimes really think? Do you think about your conclusions? The world has been moving for more than thousands of years. Europeans came into Africa around the years what? Was it like what 16? No, 13 something when they set foot in Congo. So you mean before that, all of our ancestors, all of them, because they do not know Jesus Christ, all of them are going to hell. But you, because when Manu Chao came and they showed you Jesus, you believed. So now you will go to heaven. Hey people, how selfish and wow. Do you understand the severity of the teachings they are teaching you in your church? Yeah, our ancestors used to believe in demons, but when the Europeans came with Christianity, that is when Africa was saved. How? That is when Africa was saved. This is so sad. But this is what they did. So Elohim is prophesying, he's saying, I have something against you. You left your
first love. Remember, therefore, from whence thou
you
art
used
fallen.
to worship as the real Hebrews would. Now, you don't do these things anymore. You don't keep Passover. You don't keep Day of Atonement. You don't keep the Sabbath. These things are the things that we took from our ancestors. Up until today, the word Sabbath in our language is called Samba. Samba means to pray. So we call the Sabbath day the day of prayer. In our language, it is still there embedded. It is still there embedded. The customs of the Old Testament, in all the Bantu traditions, you will find them, all of them. Europeans came and said, no, it doesn't matter if a woman has a menstrual period or Jesus sanctified the wife. You can just sleep. In our traditions, a woman has an issue of blood. She's not allowed to mingle, with the men in one house because it is an abomination. It is an Old Testament custom. But since you became a Christian, you said everything is sanctified by the blood. Your woman has a period, she's cooking for you, you are chopping, and then you will have visions of Jesus Christ. Sabbath day, you're like, no, Jesus sanctified, we can worship him on every day. Shrimp, pork, you eat it like you eat pig feet. You eat pig's ear, cabbages. You eat everything from the pig. Why? Jesus sanctified it. Everything that has to do with your traditions of old, which is sound doctrine, you rejected everything since you became a Christian. That is what Elohim means when he says, I will say to them, get away from me, ye workers of iniquity. Christians do not believe in any law. Because according to them, the Messiah made them free of the law. That is why the biggest idol in religion is Jesus Christ. We have been telling you that because the Jesus Christ you believe in is not the Messiah of the Bible. The Messiah of the Bible never ordered anyone to break any law. When he would heal someone, he'd say, go and show yourself to the priest according to the customs of Moses. If the Messiah was not keeping any law, why of every day that he could appear unto Yahukanan, he decided to appear to Yahukanan on the Master's day? What are you saying? What are you talking about? Huh? So when he says you have forsaken your first love, what he simply means is, ye are the people who forsook the traditions of the elders, the way of truth, the pure, undiluted Bible truth. And now you begin to believe in another religion. That is what it means when you have forsaken your first love, dear people. Europeans cannot make that claim that it's them. These Israelis cannot make that claim that it is them. It is only the Bantus. Because go to South Africa. I mean, when the Europeans came into China, why did they not convert the Chinese? Chinese still have their tradition. When they went to India, they occupied all of India. Why did they not convert the Indians? Everywhere they went, they left. They went to the Arab countries. Why did they not convert the Arabs? The India still believes in Buddha. The Chinese still believe in Buddha and their gods. The Arab still believes in Allah. But when they came to Africa, tell me the name of your God before Jesus came. You don't know. You see? So that can only apply to you. You forsook your first love. Continue reading.
Nevertheless, from verse 4 of Revelation 2, nevertheless,
How
I
long
have
does that
somewhat
have?
against thee.
Because time. How long do we still have?
How long do you need?
Around 15 minutes. Okay, continue.
Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love. Remember therefore from whence thou art fallen, and repent, and do the first works.
And do the first works.
Or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of this place, except thou repent.
So Elohim is telling you, the key to the Ephesians was, return to your first love. Return to your first love. And I show you how that relates to us. And then we will continue. Verse 6, he says, but this thou hast, that thou hatest the deeds
Of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the assemblies.
Because of time, I cannot go into the Nicolaitans. I really wanted to, but we still have to touch on Ephesus. So,
Smyrna.
or Smyrna, I mean. So we will jump to Nicolaitans, but I will show you the next slide. We have to jump a bit. Dear people, look at the audacity of Europeans. Do you see this? The book of Ephesus said, behold, ye could not stand them who were liars, even the false apostles. But look at the audacity of Europeans. When they speak of God's generals, it's as if only Europe matters. Whilst Europe is the youngest civilization to have ever existed in the world. But when they speak of God's generals, the great servants of God, it is only Europe matters. I'm like, people, are you serious? So look at that. That's one of the examples. Every Bantu minister now has that book in his shelf, and he quotes from that book, God's generals. The God's generals are Catherine Kuhlman, John Wigglesworth. I'm like, Wiggles who? Wiggles who? Catherine Kuhlman, John G. Lake. Every Bantu quotes, yeah, and the generals of God. And John Knox said, Queen Victoria fears nothing but the prayers of John Knox. No one can read where that statement. I'm like, wow, Bantus. This is what we do. And then on the right, in the year 60s, there was a prophet by the name of William Branham. He was deep, according to them. 10% of the population of Congo are Branhamists. They believe in William Branham as the final prophet. And he was so inspired. He came with a chart. And he said, the 7 messengers of the book of Revelation are these 7 men. And then he listed them all. He quoted Paul was the first messenger or the first angel. This guy, Irenaeus, was the second messenger. St. Martin was the third messenger. Columbia was the fourth. Martin Luther. And the 66 Edison or something that he did in Germany. The father of the Protestant church was the fifth. John Wesley of the Presbyterian was the sixth, and then he was the seventh. Hey.
Fight Noah.
So look at this, people. These are your gods, the apostles of God. Every Bantu minister makes the same claim. I'm like, people, wow. First of all, the picture of Paul is false. Second of all, how is it that Elohim only deals with Europeans? But when you read the Bible, he said Egypt will come to her king and Ethiopia will strike. Where do you read Europe? Where do you read it? Where do you read it? But they appropriated the book for themselves. They falsified the book for themselves. They repackaged the books for themselves. They marketed the Bible, and then they gave you a bootlegged version of the Bible. These are them. They cannot support any of their claims with Bible references, but they still claim it. And you, gullible Negro, believe it. Continue reading.
So jumping to the assembly of Smyrna, right?
It's a sad story. No time for Nicolaitans. We'll tackle that another time. So jump to the next one. And now the assembly in Smyrna. Read.
Revelation chapter 2 from verse 8.
And unto the Malak
Of the assembly in Smyrna write,
these things,
says the first and the last,
which was dead,
and is alive.
I know
thy works and tribulation.
So you see, his message is almost identical. I know your works and tribulation,
and poverty,
and I know your poverty yet.
but thou art rich.
So he's saying you are a people who are poor, but at the same time you are people who are rich. There are people who in this world is poor and rich at the same time. Who in this world is poor and rich at the same time? The epitome of a contradiction is the black man walking. We are strong yet weak at the same time. We are smart yet foolish at the same time. We are beautiful yet behave ugly at the same time. And we are rich yet poor at the same time. Physically, who is stronger than us? But who are the most fearful people on this planet? The European, who's physically weaker than us, they dare to go and conquer mountains. They conquer oceans. They do everything. You, Bantu man, if they bring you close to a lake, you're like, hey, you're like, hey, there is. So it's like, hey, yeah. So you are strong and weak at the same time. Afraid of everything. A snake or a mouse. You're like, hey, I fight. I send lightnings and thunder. And you only deal with fantasies. Have you ever seen the lightning and thunder that you were sending? You've never seen it before. But you only delight in madness. The richest continent in the world is Africa. Every natural resource you will need to survive is in Africa. The Europeans boast they cannot survive one day without coffee. Where do you think they get the coffee from? Elon Musk is now the richest man in the world. Where do you think he gets the resources from to build his empire? People. You go to Antwerp, all the Jews there have diamond shops. Where do you think they get the diamond? May I ask something? Do they have diamonds in what they call the desert of Israel? Israel, as you know it today, they don't even have fresh water to drink. That is how much Elohim despises that place. There is not even fresh water to drink. They have a salt water system. They have to refine it and filter it and then drink. Have you seen the lakes that are found in Africa? They say the river Congo. The river Congo. Some call it the river Zaire. That river alone can feed and generate electricity for the whole of Africa. One river. And then you still have the Zambezi. You have the Zambezi. You have the river in South Africa. You have the river in West Africa. Africa is filled with rivers. So we not only have the natural resources, we have the gold, the oil, uranium, titanium, we have iron, we have everything and the rivers. And we have the most greenest area in the world. The second is the Amazon. Meaning, we have the best continent in the world. But look at us. I'm broke. You are broke. We have nothing to show for. Nothing. How is that possible? It ought to show you that an entity is at work, and he has declared. Since Moses spoke, the curses of Elohim are upon us. So he's saying, I know your condition
and tribulation.
Listen, people, if you look at the Israelis that are living there today, can you classify them as poor? Have you ever seen a poor Jew before?
Doesn't exist.
They do not exist. They do not exist. It is as if all Jews are rich. But where do they get that riches from? They don't have gold. They don't have diamonds. They don't have oil. They don't have coffee. Where do they get the money from? So how can this verse apply to the people you know in the Middle East? It cannot apply to them because the scattered ones are broke, said Elohim, yet they are rich, the same as us. The Bantus, the blacks. Read.
I know thy poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say.
This is key. This is key. And I know the blasphemy of them
which say they are Hebrews.
who say they are
Hebrews.
But
And are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
are you reading this? Hey, people, are you reading this? So it shows to reason that there is a people that are claiming to be Jews but are not. But they are the synagogue of
Satan.
I will get to that later. Continue reading.
Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison.
Because of time, we will jump that. But we will focus on that verse 9. Who are the ones who are claiming to be Jews? Who are the ones that are claiming to be Jews? And now we have some dimwits who will sit there in their homes. They will be like, you guys, you're a dimwit. They'll be like, yeah, but you guys are claiming. People, you say we are claiming, but every claim of us, we can support it. First of all, we have showed you, demonstrated, the Hebrews of the Bible were people of color. So we already matched that. Our cultures and our traditions, they match. The Bible also said the Hebrews, they would be scattered, and the only time that they will come back to their land would be when Elohim would bring them. But then look at the people who claim to be Jews. First of all, go to the next slide. In 10 minutes I'm done. So, how the people in the Bible became white. The reason why the identity of the 7 churches were hidden in coded language. First Maccabees 3:48. What does it read?
And laid open the book of the law.
And Alexander the Macedonian and his 4 generals, who later became one with the Romans, when they took siege of Israel and Jerusalem, in the book of Maccabees, they laid open the book of the law,
wherein the heathen had sought.
And the heathen, they sought
to paint the likeness of their images.
They began to paint the likeness of their image.
Their images.
In the Bible.
The scriptures, in the book of the law.
Next slide. People, if you know, you know. Revelation 1:14. And I, Yahukanon, when I turned to see who was speaking to me.
Revelation chapter 1, starting from verse 14.
His
head.
And I saw him. He was radiant in glory. And his head.
And his hairs.
Like.
Were white like wool.
Eyes as
white as snow. And his eyes
wool.
were as flame of fire.
Which people have hair that is woolly? Have you seen the Israelis? Have you seen the Europeans? Their hair falls down. It is soft. They have hair like a horse or hair like a dog. Hair that falls down. But if you want to understand woolly hair, you have to look at a sheep. When a sheep grows out his hair without combing it, it becomes curly and bushy. Likened unto a Bantu man. When he leaves out his hair, he doesn't comb it. The hair grows out like this, wool. So he says, and I beheld and I saw his head and his hair
were white like wool,
and his eyes
were as a flame of fire,
and his feet
like burnt, and his feet like brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
Just go and type into your Google search, burn brass, and you will see the color. Burn brass has the color of copper. You see my brother on the host, Randy Kuhn. He's copper colored. He is copper colored. But the thing is, the Messiah, he was as if it was burned in the oven, meaning he was crispy black. He was jet black. He was jet black. But now look at the imposter on the right. Look at the smooth boy. Who's that guy? Is this not your Jesus? Every Bantu person has the picture of that man on the right in his house. A guy with soft hair, soft face, the eyes blue, the beard smooth. Look at him, look at him, look at him. This is Jesus Christ. And that is why we said that Jesus Christ, you know, is not the Messiah of the Bible. The Bible said it is evident that our master sprang out of Judah.
That's right.
It is evident that our master sprang out of Yaoundé. He was a man of Yehuda, a Hebrew man, jet black. He was an Ethiopian, just like Enoch. He was a Bantu, just like Shaul. He was a black man, just like Moses. So Elohim told Moses, oh, you want to see a sign? No worries. Take your hand, put it in your bosom. Moses took his hand, placed it in a bosom. When he pulled it out, he screamed for days. And he was like, what's wrong, man? He was like, my hand has turned white. So if a white person's hand turns white, where is the miracle? There's no miracle. But if you take a black man and you turn his hand white, it is a miracle and a sight to behold. So he was black. The Hebrews were black. So when Elohim said, I know the sin of them who say they are Jews but are not. Look at the people that are in Israel today. Are they black? They're not black. So they are the imposters that the Bible speaks of. It's not us. Everything we say, we can back it up with evidence. Even in the description of the Messiah, they are describing a black man. If you read the description of the angels in the book of Daniel, the angels also have the color of brass.
As if it is burned in a furnace.
When Daniel is describing the Ancient of Days, there are many Ancient of Days. But when he described the Ancient of Days, he also said his hair is like wool.
And his head like pure wool.
Why do no? This one even is not. It's pure wool, meaning when you try to comb it, it won't go. Why do you think the Bible leaves these details behind for us? Because he said, Israel, my people, they do not know. My sheep does not consider who they are. So why did they leave out the book of Maccabees? Because therein we see the identity theft. They hijacked the name of Elohim. Yahushua or Yesaya became Jesus. You see, they added Zeus there. It became Jesus. Elohim or Allahim or Tadan Zambi or Nyame or whatever. It became who? It became God. The names of the apostles. It became John, Matthew, Mark. I'm like, wow. Timothy. Paul. You see what they did? They hijacked the whole book. They took away the people, called them monkeys and coons, and they displaced us, and then they placed themselves there. We are the people. We are the people. None of the prophecies that are concerning the children of Israel, it fits them, but it fits us to a letter. The Israelites would be scattered abroad like slaves in slavery. Which Israelite do you know today? Which Ashkenazi Jew has ever been a slave? Which Ashkenazi Jew has ever been a slave? We have been slaves. Our descendants have been slaves. Our brothers are everywhere. Suriname, Curaçao, Jamaica, all of them are descendants of slaves, fulfilling biblical prophecy. Which Ashkenazim can claim that? None of them. The curse is not upon them, it's upon us. So the hymn said, I know them who claim to be Yahudis, but they are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. We are continuing. Next slide. 5 minutes and then I'm done. Next slide. When Jesus hid in Egypt, look at that picture. People, are you serious? Hey, are you serious? So if Jesus was a white boy, a red European, because we all know, at least if you don't know, then I don't know what else to say to you, but the ancient Egyptians were people of color. They were black. To prove that, I took an excerpt. Can you remove my head from there, please, so that they can read the text?
That's already
okay. Perfect. So I took an excerpt from a dictionary not written by me, by a white boy. Because when black say, you guys don't believe it. But when a white person says it, you believe it. So this is an excerpt, a page from a dictionary written by a European. Not me.
It's called the Zondervan Bible Dictionary.
It is called the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, and the entry word here is Ham.
So this does it say about Ham?
Ham.
He's the younger son of Noah, born
meaning perhaps hot. He's the youngest son of Noah,
born probably about 96 years before the flood,
and
one of the 8 persons to live through the flood.
He became
the progenitor of the dark races,
but not
the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
So he's telling you that Ham was the father of the dark races except for the Negroes. And then he begins to mention all the dark races. One of the dark races are
the Egyptians, who are the brothers of the Ethiopians.
And then he also mentions the Ethiopians.
And
so what
Libyans.
you have to ask yourself is, if Ethiopians and Egyptians were brothers, and Ethiopians are still black today, and they were never conquered.
That's right.
But Egypt is now white. But Egypt has a history of being conquered. Ask yourself, who is who? People. Who is who? The word Arab in itself means a mingled one. Arab means mingled. Every Arab you know today is a mulatto. The whites came, plundered their wives, raped them, and they became mingled. That is the Arab you know today. He's mingled. Some of them look European, others look like Berbers. Mingled. Mingled. If you want to see who the true Arabs were, go to the mountains of Morocco. Go look at the Tuaregs, the Susis. These are the real Arabs. And they look identical to the Ethiopian. Place a Susi close to Rendi. They look alike. They look alike. So the Egyptians were black. Now, if the Messiah was white, people, and he hid in Egypt, look at the picture. It's the most ridiculous picture I've ever seen in my life. But that is how it would look like. If your claim is true that Jesus, who was white and red, he went to flee into Egypt, it would be known. It would be obvious. But if he was black, like the Egyptians were black, because they look the same, take me and place me in
Poland.
Take me and place me in Poland. I'll be noticed. But take me and place me in Ghana. Take me in Suriname, where the Balas are, not where the Chinuas. I would be noticed. I would be noticed. So you see, just like as this picture is ridiculous, that is how ridiculous you sound. You say the Hebrews were white, and Jesus was white. But look at the pictures they gave you. 3 minutes, we're done. Next slide. Another entry from the same Zondervan dictionary. When you go to the Zondervan dictionary, buy it, please. Go home and already buy that dictionary. When you look up the entry word ruddy, what does it say? Ruddy.
A word used to refer to a red or fair complexion.
This same word in Hebrew, I think it's like Adamonai or Adamonai. It is where the word Adam comes from, because Adam was a ruddy man.
That's right.
This is where the word Adam comes from. So it's a word used to refer
to a red or fair complexion, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews.
My goodness, Chris, what are you doing, man? Then did you put it there?
You are a master editor.
So this is coming from the Zondervan dictionary. It is telling you when they say David was a ruddy man. Ruddy simply means a word used to refer to a red or a fair complexion in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. So David was a ruddy man, just like the Khoisan people on your left. You see them, all of them. You see the Chinese features. You see their red skin. These are the fathers of this world.
Ready man.
Please, Europeans, understand that we, the blacks, are the aboriginals. We are the fathers and the mothers of this entire world. We are the Bantu, the Muntu. We are the head. But now look at us. The head has become the tail, fulfilling prophecy. Fulfilling prophecy. And the man on your right, when you read the story of Simpson, look and behold how you look like. But now you are walking around, hey, the story of Simpson, he had 7 locks. Which Israeli do you know with 7 locks, man? The thing they put on their side, that's not locks. They were speaking about the dreadlocks of Simpson had dreadlocks. Dreadlocks. He was the original Rastaman. Many of them prophets, they had dreadlocks. When you looked at them, they were fearful. You were like, yeah, John the Baptist, a real Rastaman. The original one. Easy. So when you see them, you're like, yeah, man, these are the people. But when you read about Simpson, nothing clicks. Why? You have been brainwashed. So now we have to bring you back with this hardcore message. So to conclude, this is not a Bible reference anymore. This is a reference from an author and a scholar. Next slide. So we took the Bible, we then took the dictionary, and now we are taking a reference from an author. He says the other portion of the land of peace.
This is called the Short History of the Copts and Their Church right? And it says the other portion was the whole people of Egypt, who were called Kept, and were of mixed descent, among whom one could not distinguish Copt from Abyssinian, Nubian, or Israelite.
You see? So he's saying there was no distinction between the Abyssinian, the Nubian, and the Israelite. So if he's saying there was no distinction, and we all know Abyssinia is Ethiopia, Nubia is also Africa. So if two of the three people he mentioned were black, and he said you cannot distinguish them from the Israelis, what do you think the Israelites were, man? They were black. And they were all Jacobites.
That's right.
So the source is A Short History of the Copts and Their Church by Ahmad ibn Ali Makrijian. So to conclude, dear people, read. Next slide. Yes.
Okay. So the last one, it says they left black. When he was asked about peace in the Middle East, the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated, the Jews or Hebrews will never be able to live here in peace because they left here black but came back white.
Next slide. This is not us. Next slide. 2 minutes and we're done. Next slide. Proposal for a Jewish state before
1948.
Do you people realize that the nation that you call Israel today is not older than 1948?
Unbelievable.
Do you guys that's what I'm saying. Some of the statements that you people are making, I'm like, how dare you make such statements? All of your ancestors who would not believe in Jesus will go to hell, according to you. Oh, people. The Jewish state of Israel, they were not yet recognized as a state before 1948. So the country Israel that you know did not even exist prior to 1948. But you are now making all these claims, and every Bible prophecy, you are now pinpointing it to that small nation. Are you sick? So read.
So there were several proposals for a Jewish state.
So before they became the Jewish state that you know today, behind the scenes, the European powers led by the British Empire, the chief devil, they were orchestrating places where they may go and establish a Jewish settlement. Go ahead.
There were several proposals for a Jewish state in the course of Jewish history between the destruction of ancient Israel and the founding of the modern state of Israel.
Below,
a listing of some proposals in random order.
1. Ararat City. They wanted to have a Jewish settled state in the US, which failed. 2nd,
British Uganda program.
They were looking close to Uganda. As they say in Uganda.
Near the Abba Yudaya people.
They were looking there to have their settlement there. Near the
Abba Yudaya people.
You hear the original people. Our names are there, people. They are called the Abba
Daya
people. No comment. Read.
3. The Jewish Autonomous Oblast in USSR,
They
Russia.
tried to have a settlement in Russia. Read.
The Fugu Plan in Japan.
They wanted to have a settlement in Japan. Read.
The Madagascar Plan.
They wanted to have one in Madagascar. 6.
British
Guyana.
Sorry.
They wanted to have one in Guyana. British Guyana, that is close to Suriname. Read.
A Jewish self-governing territory within Italian East Africa.
Meaning Tripoli there, another African place. Read.
Port Davey in Australia.
They attempted but failed. 9th.
Andinia Plan in Argentina.
They attempted there and they failed. And then they finally came to
modern-day Palestine.
Now tell me, people, these are people who are inspired by God. And every time God would inspire them, hey, try Ararat. Hey, try British Guyana. So what God is that? So they tried 9 times, more than 9 times. They didn't find one. And eventually they settled in modern day Palestine. And they took over that place. And let me tell you something. That place that you know as Palestine is not even Israel. It's not the biblical Israel as we know it. But that is a topic for another day. So the final reference I will give you guys. Next slide. So you know that we are not talking just to talk. This book, The 13th Tribe, by a, listen, Jewish
Author.
this is
Their own.
This is coming from their own. This is coming from their own. This book, read it, look it up, listen to it by audio, do whatever you want. But what did he claim?
So this book is called The 13th Tribe. The 13th Tribe is a 1976 book by Arthur Koestler, in which the author advances the thesis that the Ashkenazi Jews are not descent from the historical Israelites of antiquity, but from Khazars, a Turkish people. Koestler hypothesized that the Khazars, who may have converted to Judaism in the 8th century, migrated westward into Eastern Europe in the 12th and 13th centuries when the Khazar Empire was collapsing.
People, because of time, I cannot expound on this one.
Finish the last two slides. Only two.
I cannot expound on this one. But just study for yourself. Look up the 13th tribe. And the reason why he calls it the 13th tribe is because he says Israel only had 12 tribes. He said, if it is true that the Ashkenazis were really Israelites, then all of a sudden, there must be a 13th tribe. Because all the 12 other tribes are not Ashkenazis. That was his claim. And that is why the book is called the 13th tribe. After publishing the book, he was
excommunicated.
The Mossad. Dead. So maybe I may die tomorrow. Maybe. Dead. That is the life we are living. Okay. Next slide. So, how will you then understand this verse? I know
the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews
and are
not,
but
are the synagogue of Satan.
Look at them. Look at them. Look at them. You look at them, you are inspired. But this is not the people. That is why the book of Zechariah, I even left out that verse. He says, at the days of calamity, then the Gentiles, they will turn around and they will say, our forefathers
have inherited lies.
They will look, they'll be like, what? We have been lied to. We have been lied to. Give me that chapter, please.
Listen, Jeremiah chapter 16.
The book of Jeremiah. Is it Jeremiah? I don't think so.
Jeremiah 16 from 19. Surely our fathers have inherited lies.
Okay, give me that verse.
Jeremiah 16:19. O Master.
O Master.
My strength and my fortress.
My strength and my fortress.
And my refuge in the day of affliction.
Listen, in the day of affliction,
the Gentiles shall come unto thee.
You see, the same Gentiles who in the book of Maccabees have sought to paint their likeness in the book of the law. He said, in the day of affliction, the Gentiles will
come unto thee from the ends of the earth and shall say.
And they will say,
surely our fathers
have
inherited lies.
Behold your fathers and the lies that they inherited. Now the final slide and then we are done. Look at the slide. Look at the magnificence and the beauty. Read.
Jeremiah 14 verse 2.
He said, Yehuda
mourns.
Judah mourns.
And the gates thereof, they are black.
They are black
unto the ground.
And they cry.
And the cry of Jerusalem is gone.
Behold, the people of Yah. The sufferings they bury. The sufferings we have been through. And we will keep going through them until we repent and come back to the ways of the Most High. So these were the things. We will see you the next time. Judah mourns. Shalom.
So this was the hour of restoration. This was a pretty extensive show. We have handled many things. Time is far spent. This was the hour of restoration. If you want to watch it back on your own tempo, your own pace, visit our social media platforms on YouTube, Facebook, then you can watch it back on your own time. This again was the Hour of Restoration. Next week we'll be back with a new show, so follow our social media platforms to stay up to date, and hopefully we'll see you next week again. This was the Hour of Restoration again, and I wish you a pleasant Sabbath. See you around.
De tempo een beetje.
Yahweh na ye kopesa yo kembo kotatola bolingo na yo ponanga bolamu na yo yango nde meminga hawa soki yote nena beba